Welcome to the webinar, how the business leaders can step up their EBITDA. We've seen as FSO more than 1,000 successful projects in exactly doing what we say above, so step up the EBITDA. And I'm very passionate about sharing what are the common denominators, the common patterns that those successful projects showed. Before we start, nice to meet you. Luca Stoppino. I'm very proud to have been working with FSO for 33 years. Can you believe? Time flies when you enjoy yourself. As you can see, I've been working with many companies in many sectors, mainly those indicated, the FMCG, food and beverage, packaging, pharma, automotive and retail, but these are the main sectors, We have, many sectors that not mentioned here. Those are the main ones. And to be honest, I really enjoyed my career with our team to turn around many businesses. Personally, we mentioned 1,000 because we have the FS overall, experience, but I personally led more than 300 programs, and I'm very passionate about, as I said before, to understand with you, if you like, what are the common denominator, the successful ones, let's say. A couple of words about FSO. We are a global company with 800 consultants around the world, more than 30 offices, 45 nationalities. We deliver more than 1,000 projects every year in 75 countries. We have really a very favorable multiple between the investment on consultancy and the return. And you can see at the top, we are a global pure player in operation strategy and EBITDA improvement. Our mantra is results today, results tomorrow. So results today is absolutely, we need to improve the EBITDA together. But also our mantra is also, we don't want to have quick wins that will disappear very, shortly. We'd like to create internal capabilities to enable you to continue the journey, to improve the journey on your own, as opposed to dependency on consultancy for many years. We hate that situation when it happens, let's say. So results today, results tomorrow is our mantra. It is clear more and more companies need to move very quickly in the value creation. And it is like Darwin said, if you like, not the most intelligent will respond, but will succeed, but the people with the quickest, if you like, reaction to changes. Some companies really earned a lot of money because of the COVID, because they were the quickest to adapt. This webinar is about what are the winners and what they're doing. So how can we copy and paste? Or maybe some of you do some of the ingredients we see, but maybe not all the ingredients. So how can we copy and paste all the ingredients we see in those winners? First of all, who are the winners? We saw companies. We are very proud to have helped them with a step change in their profitability. You can see an example on the screen. You take your own journey. Maybe some companies are in very tough sectors when an EBITDA of 5% is the current practice, let's say. So don't worry about 11. But this is a classic example of more than doubling the EBITDA. This is what we consider being the winners. And as you can see at the bottom left of the slide, again, our mantra, you remember, is the results today, results tomorrow. The winners are really step changing the EBITDA, but the winners are also building knowledge, enabling them to continue on the journey, let's say. So what they're doing. First of all, first ingredient is we saw a number of EBITDA improvement programs, operations excellence, or even particular functionality, function like manufacturing excellence, let's say, with two like a T-junction. So some of them are really linked to the boardroom strategy and value creation ambitions. Some of them are like standalone, let's say, to be honest. So there is a big gap between the boardroom and those programs. Guess what? The winners are really soldering together, zipping together, if you like, the boardroom strategy and value creation ambitions with the EBITDA improvement program, let's say. So there is not a gap between the two. Second point is it is very easy to, all the companies got a specific expertise, let's say. So they are, they do manufacturing excellence very well, or they do procurement excellence, or they do. The best companies are kind of agnostic, and they say, okay, you can see from the slide, even the boardroom strategy and value creation ambitions, let's look at in a neutral way, in an agnostic way, so to speak, to the end-to-end value chain, from market intelligence, new product introduction, supply chain. Obviously, within the supply chain, manufacturing is a core point. Obviously, marketing, after sales. Obviously, sustainability is across really it is not a standalone piece, but it is across the value chain really. So, what are the? Let's spend time to understand. We can have some quantitative assessments. You can see that there are some analysis tools. What is the EBITDA, P&L, impact of those elements, let's say. So we can do more qualitative or quantitative analysis. But what are the pieces of the value chain that are really linked or can hinder, if you want to have a challenging, if you like, element, they hinder the boardroom strategy and the value creation ambition, let's say. Let's focus on those first and improve, like kind of the bottlenecks of the end-to-end, as opposed to improving for the sake of improving, which is a typical mistake, let's say. So ingredient number one is starting from the boardroom ambition. Ingredient number two is have a neutral view, from start to finish or the end-to-end, to understand what are the really critical places or domains, or whatever you want to call them, elements of the value chain that need our focus, let's say. You can see here examples of once the critical points of the value chain have been identified, what are the typical, program scopes in each of the different places of the value chain where we can make an immediate impact on the EBITDA, let's say. Third element is very peculiar, actually, because you can see in front of you an explosion of the slide we saw before to classify this EBITDA step change, if you like, ambition, and who are the winners, let's say. And you can see from this slide the fact that I'm sure all of you are familiar with what we did for many, many years, starting from the 90s, in manufacturing, the classic kind of operations or manufacturing, even specifically excellence. So we took the conversion cost in this particular case, in this particular company, was 235 million pounds. And we had the classic loss identification. So how much of the conversion cost is losses, non-value adding activities. Clearly, we don't want to zero the losses. That is a completely crazy ambition, let's say. But we have a mantra that can reduce the losses by 50% in a couple of years. So in this particular case, we have 70 million are planned over the next 2 or 3 years. Curiously, as soon as we go outside manufacturing, people turn to traditional methods, which is we reduce the cost, if you like, directly, without having the same pattern as we successfully experimented in manufacturing. So why don't we, and in this particular company, we did exactly this, why don't we exactly do the same as we did in manufacturing? So first of all, we identify the losses. Clearly, when we go to other areas of the value chain, maybe the losses are not as big in percentage as the cost itself, but it doesn't really matter. So when we apply this approach, so we can maintain the losses approach, like through the end-to-end, guess what? You become more sustainable, because instead of reducing costs, and with the cost we can even reduce the value adding, if you like, then you reduce the losses, and the cost reduction is the result of loss reduction, which doesn't take the risk of cutting the value adding as well, if you see what I mean, let's say. So the ingredient number 3 I would like to share with you is please maintain the loss attack first, even when you go outside manufacturing, throughout the end-to-end value chain. Ingredient 4 is once those work streams of EBITDA improvement are clear, we are big fans of the single agenda, so we don't want to lose the concept of single agenda. So the mother of this family tree is obviously still the P&L and EBITDA. But with regards to what we call the moment of truth or high impact moments where those improvements are made, try not to create a what we call a fruit salad, meaning I saw many companies having a weekly P&L review with all the streams put together, let's say. So you put together, kind of site directors, manufacturing site directors and S&OP leaders, logistics and salespeople, commercial, in a kind of, very, let me say, confusing, if you like, meeting. So we prefer to have, yes, we can have a P&L moment, but every single part of the value chain should deliver, clearly sales, procurement, conversion cost, logistics are 4 examples. Try to maintain those work streams separated in the high impact moments, and then we can put them together on a monthly basis, but which each of the stream leaders to present results as opposed to, discussing again in a fruit salad every week in a very, very mixed and confusing way. So identification of work streams and work with them in this way. Ingredient number 5 is what we call projectitis. Projectitis is projects for the sake of projects, tangling with each other, long-lasting, non-value adding necessarily, sucking a lot of resources, maybe in the wrong way. Maybe we dedicate too much resources to something that doesn't have a clear input on EBITDA. So really the love of projects for the sake of projects. So you can see the description of the projectitis here. I stop here for a few seconds to let you maybe recognize some of things happening in your company, let's say. And absolutely, everybody's in good faith. Everybody is willing to do things, but we need to be a bit, maybe take a helicopter view, as we call it, and understand exactly what is adding value. And so we have basically the lack of a single agenda, the lack of a drumbeat, the lack of, as a result of those two, the lack of even eventually motivation, because, if a project lasts too long, you lose the initial enthusiasm, let's say. So what we are trying to do to avoid the projectitis is to have, we call in our methodologies, this method of, this medicine for projectitis, so we call it progression. So the progression way of doing things is a clear link to results. We create work streams of improvements, but also, number 2 is very important, short cycles. To create a 3-4 month cycle. So every single work stream as a combination of work stream and cycle should deliver a clear value within those 3 or 4 months with a sense of urgency, pacemaker, split the elephant into, kind of digestible chunks as opposed to, attacking the elephant overall, because obviously inevitably you'll take such a long time and you create a failure and possible failure, let's say, and motivation. As I said, number 3 is clear deliverable for each cycle. Create, as a definition of cycle, within the cycle, you create high impact projects that really impact on an end-to-end value chain KPI in a significant way. Don't have projects improving a KPI from 83 to 85, let's say. So, you need to have 70 to 80, 50 to 75, that sort of things. And on any KPI, so you can think of the classic efficiency KPIs, you can think of customer service, you can think of on-time delivery, you can think of optimization of your working capital, let's say. But, in each cycle have a step change, but focus that step change in order for this to be deliverable in 3 or 4 months, let's say. By definition, if you have clear targets for these 3-4 month cycle, you have a very good planning of resources. You dedicate the right resources to each of those high impact projects. And, there is every week, every month, every cycle, in continuous communication, sense of achievement, so the motivation is really kept to the highest possible level. Not only that, but we have through the leadership teams of each part of the value chain, we have a prompt intervention on the escalation point, let's say. So if a high impact project is struggling to deliver these KPI step change because there is an objective, if you like, blocker, the leadership team, if you like, is prompt to intervene. So you maintain the sense of motivation, the sense of engagement, the sense of leadership, the sense of specific behaviors in the high impact moments at the highest possible level, let's say. Maybe you can reflect on whether you have those, 6 elements that we call progression, but we are not at all, if you like, slaves of names and slogans, let's say, but we really care about the substance. Whether this medicine, this progression medicine for projectitis, if you like, is in place in your companies, or you think that going back to the previous page, you still suffer from those kind of projectitis, if you like, syndrome, or lack of single agenda, or lack of drumbeat, let's say. So those 2 pages are very important. Number 6 is a fundamental element. All the elements are fundamental, but this is particularly fundamental. In our study of these successful projects, this is possibly, if I need to select one, is probably the most important. So people work too much. Sometimes they're attracted by the gravity force of process improvements, technical improvements, but we create a beautiful, maybe Formula One car for the ones of you who are passionate about Formula One or any motorsport, let's say, but we don't create the right drivers or the right even passengers, let's say. I really respect the passengers. So number 6 is really the passion of the leaders of those successful companies, the winners, to develop, level 2, level 3, level 4 leaders. We call it the guiding coalition, if you like, of a company. And so we have a symbolic image of our top level methodology. We have much deeper than this, but we classify the leaders as in a kind of 1 to 4 scale of resisting. I don't see any problems. What is the problem? Accepting, I accept that there is a problem, but I don't know if the solution belongs to other people. Let's say not me. So I'm kind of 50% leader if I or even 20% leader if I stop at the accepting scale. Supporting, I see the problem, I see the solution, but again, I need a lot of help to implement the solution. And drive is the right leader. So you can imagine that your company has got now, depending upon the size of it, but 50 leaders, and all the 50 leaders, let's say, in key position of the end-to-end, are at the drive level of leadership, which is obviously the ideal. So I see problems, I see the solution, I'm happy to give it a go, to own the solution, let's say. Clearly, doesn't mean that I become independent, and clearly I need to be prompt in escalating my blockers, so I don't become almost like I don't start the company on my own, but I drive the implementation, I escalate, and also I convince people around me. I drag in people, I convince people around me to follow my suggestion. So the symbolic image of this little triangle with those blue arrows is ideally, again, I don't want to make one size fits all, but I need to create from, obviously, by definition, the CEO of the company to the different levels of leadership, all the people, drive people, let's say. So that is the effort, the big effort that the big companies are making to, so leadership throughout, let's say, the guiding coalition, a really successful guiding coalition. Second bit is, okay, we don't need only leaders, we need also teams around the leader, let's say. So how do we motivate the team? So how do we, and we see, again, this is a result of observing a lot of companies, that we see that companies are really working, that is our own FSO proposal, but similar methodology exists, on what we call the engagement or the adoption process, let's say. How to really engage people around the leaders? How do we help leaders engage their people, let's say? So you can see that there is a 7-step, if you like, stair to heaven or to adoption, let's say, in this particular case, starting from, and we really communicated the why to people, as opposed to, we don't have time, so we go straight to the what, let's say. Do we understand really what the change means for, the team of people? So very, very often the change is seen as, I will lose my job. If we become more efficient, I will lose my job. Let's say many, not only manufacturing, but in many places of the value chain. So have we given those people a vision that maybe their job will change, if you like, in the future, meaning that it will be, more value-adding job as opposed to the classic day-by-day firefighting, let's say. Have we taken care of the communication, let's say? Sometimes not. And the winners instead did take care of this communication, let's say. Did I explain to people that, my favorite step of this adoption route is step 6, actually, which is we convince people that every single change takes some losing some elements, it's not the same as I exit my comfort zone, for example. So do I, I don't know if you read the famous book, Move My Cheese, let's say. So we wake up and we don't see our cheese that we were used to, for many, many years. And we created the desire of people to find the bigger cheese, if you like, around the corner, let's say. So this is a 6 adoption. So in general, the winners, the successful companies are really worked on engaging the team following a process like this, let's say. Again, this is the FSO proposal, but we have different steps to have them, but still, rowing the same direction, let's say, successful direction. And last but not least, we have in the company dozens of high impact moments. High impact moment is spoke about the P&L review before. We spoke about maybe a daily meeting, and we spoke about we can speak about SNOP, kind of the classic SNOP. Used to be monthly, now it is probably quicker than a month cycle, let's say. So those, we call them end-to-end high impact moments. So we have functional high impact moments, or even end-to-end high impact moments, especially when we go towards the top level of the company, let's say. Do we see in those high impact moments key behaviors by the leaders and key behaviors by the teams? So the winners have worked a lot to make those high impact moments not only impeccable from the point of view of the frame of reference, the agenda, the process definition. This was done maybe, very well 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Is the human element of those high impact moments, if you like, at the Champions League, if you like, level. So are the key behaviors, key member behavior, key leadership behavior, really at the top class. So the winners spend a lot of time to deal with what we call some people call it change management. We call it human dynamics, let's say. They are probably synonyms, but the human aspect, if you like, is really, really important to make it happen. So not only the process, but also the human dynamics. Let you maybe reflect for 30 seconds on this slide to understand if you have something similar in your companies, not exactly the same words. And the words don't really matter so much. It is the concept that, so leadership, engagement, the team adoption, and key behavior during the high impact moments of the company life are really fundamental to make it happen in the famous EBITDA step change, if I manner, as opposed to minimal marginal improvement, let's say. This is the last ingredients, so 7 ingredients in total. I revealed my secret in the end. And last but not least, we speak nowadays more and more. From 10 years ago, now it's becoming more and more imperative. We do digital, and we saw many ways to do digital, and guess what? We believe that we invented the 4P slogan, which is obviously conceptual rather than, we don't have the 4P, but you do exactly the thing. So we have basically 4 suggestions on digital. So digital, first of all, think of people first. We saw many companies really in good faith, passionate about digital, and we like the passion. However, the passion has been translated into digital for only a few people, and digital too advanced, let's say, not to a kind of, and also I would like to put together those 2 elements, so people and progressive. So we are using this pyramid with many, many clients, and it is really the symbolic image of at the bottom of the pyramid, we have the value and the number of people. I like in many, many webinars and also many, many workshops in companies, we socialized the digital paradox, which is when I started my career 32 years ago, time flies, as we said, in order to be technologically advanced, you needed to go to work, because we didn't have the laptops at home, or, so you felt you went to work and you saw your computer, maybe not even the laptop, big computers, very powerful. Now, if you think about it, many cases, it's exactly the opposite. So people, that is the paradox, are more digital at home. You name how many apps your your employees use at home, from ordering foods, organizing holiday, understanding the weather forecast, to organize the weekend, and you name it. I don't want to be overly complete, let's say. And so how do we fight this digital paradox? We start from the bottom of the pyramid. We make sure digital touches in the first steps, ideally 100% obviously, but let's say 90% of your population. How do we eliminate pen and paper to collect data, for example? So our passionate suggestion is think of people, think of a progressive journey to, eventually artificial intelligence. Absolutely, we don't want to deny that artificial intelligence will do a lot of, goods, but start from the very bottom of the pyramid, do the basic things, eliminate the pen and paper, for example. This is really, and in the same fashion we speak about the base of the pyramid is big and then the top is smaller, you can also apply to value. There is a lot of value you can, speaking about the EBITDA step changes, there is a lot of value at the base of the pyramid, let's say. I can give you a lot of examples. The webinar has got a limited amount of time available, unfortunately. I would like to speak for a couple of hours about a lot of examples where KPIs, where people were a bit stuck for many, many years, let's say, at a step change in the, in the KPI because of an agile way of recording data, an agile way to solve problems, an agile way to pass more problems to people as opposed to passing the elephants. You normally, when you record data with pen and paper, you have, maybe you record what we call the elephants, and you can't pass an elephant to a problem-solving team, for example. When you start recording data with digital, then you can pass more problems to the Kaizen teams, and they become very dynamic. Almost like every week there is a problem solved, let's say. So there is such a big amount of energy unleashed by the base of the pyramid that brings an enormous value, even without offending anybody, over and above the artificial intelligence applied, straight away, let's say. So people first, progressive journey. So no shiny toys as a provocation. Partnership. So this is the third P of digital. So we saw that many companies, again, regardless they start from the base of the pyramid or artificial intelligence, but tend to have a separate roadmap for digital, and they don't basically put together in a kind of zip. So you put them together, if you like. So the journey of digital should absolutely be together with the journey on your existing programs. We call this existing program, generically end-to-end profit excellence, which is our preference, but I'm sure you have your own names of the programs in your company, let's say. Do you have really handshake the zip between your existing program and digital, or are they following different roadmaps, if you like, and you end up in different separate journeys and separate, even visions and so on and so forth. So partnership is fundamental. And guess what? Last but not least, which is closing the loop with the EBITDA, is it is very important to, and we do that with, a lot of really clients on this journey, the EBITDA journey, is link digital investments to return on investment, let's say. That is a very healthy way to make sure that we apply the first three principles, let's say. So people, progressive, partnership. The proof of the pudding will be how profitable is my digital roadmap, if you like. Is my ROI 15 years? Or sorry, payback is 15 years, or it is only a few months, because again, we unleash such amount of energy in these KPI improvement activities that were a bit trapped, if you like, without digital, let's say. Again, stop here for 30 seconds to enable you to digest these 4P principle for digital. Hopefully it is something innovative and interesting as a self-reflection, if you like, as a self-assessment, if you like, little checklist. Am I doing the 4Ps correctly, let's say? So just to recap, before I maybe, we go into the question and answer session. So this page is almost recapping all the 7 elements. So start from the bold growth strategy, link the bold growth strategy to the critical domains, functions of the value chain. Don't start from where you know more necessarily, the classic manufacturing. Consider the end-to-end. Have clearly an EBITDA impact, and focus on the concept of losses. Don't jump to the cost reduction. Make sure that you reduce the losses first, and then the cost reduction is a result of a loss reduction, as we said. Make it happen without the projectitis. So having this is a symbolic image of our progression system, let's say. Divide the journey into very, very, kind of manageable cycles, 3 or 4 months each. Have a clear input for the cycle, manage your resources properly, give a sense of achievement to people every 3 or 4 months, keep them motivated, keep the blockers, if you like, under control. And clearly part of this roadmap should be high impact project. Don't be happy to have a project to improve the KPI X, Y, and Z from 70 to 72, let's say. Have a step change even within those projects, in high impact projects. And last but not least, we said yes. We call it the PhD S plus S, which is yes, focus on processes, but remember the emphasis you must place on human dynamics. We saw the 4P principles of digital. Absolutely, sustainability is throughout the value chain. So think of in a sustainability way, let's say. Sustainability meaning the classic sustainability, but think of sustainability in a meta sustainability concept, which is how sustainable is my EBITDA, if you like, step change, let's say. So sustainability even in that sense. And then last but not least, make sure that, yes, emphasis on results, but emphasis also on building knowledge within your company, let's say. So hopefully we share something, interesting. Somebody is saying, what are the common obstacles of an EBITDA improvement program? That is a great question. For me, the common obstacles are, the most important obstacle is thinking not in a sort of holistic way, and think of specific silo programs as opposed to thinking boardroom ambition, thinking end-to-end, think holistic, let's say. So that is the most important point. We can speak about, obviously, lack of human dynamics, lack of digital use in the right way. But if I need to select one ingredient that is missing in the not so winning EBITDA companies, the biggest, if I had a magic wand, then I could touch the magic with the magic wand only once, if you like, the company. I would like to say more boardroom connection to shared ambitions and a clear link between the value chain piece by piece, if you like, at the boardroom is for me the biggest obstacle to overcome. Like, let's say. Great question. Also here, comparing a company with the human body. This is part of the. There was a great question on how do we convince, how do we convince our body? How do we convince a good metaphor between our body and the company? So how would you convince our body to grow, if you like, and even to better perform, maybe in sport, let's say. It is that's why suggestion number 6 was human dynamics. So again, I don't want to use too many magic wands, obviously, but I said what is the most important obstacle? It is lack of connection with the boardroom. The second biggest important obstacle is that I like the expression, not my creation, so I can absolutely proudly copy and paste that. Don't try to grow the grass by pulling the grass, let's say. So we need to understand why people don't have ambition, for example. What is their point of view? Did they change maybe after the COVID? Did they get used to the hybrid type of working, which is welcome, but maybe too much biased towards being a silo at home as opposed to part of a team, let's say. So maybe this is what happened in the last 3 years, but even before the COVID, we had a similar challenge, let's say. So investing time on human dynamics and investing time to create the guiding coalition to focus on the good people and to empower even the good people to empower other people. So to create the snowball effect, if you like, is fundamental. So basically, going back to the metaphor of the human body, listen to your body, listen to the potential leaders of this guiding coalition, and take it from there. Let's say, I would say. I'm glad that to have been inundated by questions, let's say. So absolutely pleased. I can see a lot of interest. Thank you very much, Luca. Please share. This is the absolutely. I will absolutely. So make your own self-assessment. We remain available to provide more examples. Another viewpoint, maybe specific for your company that can be applicable. And so I wish you a good day. Thank you very much.